And welcome everybody to, I believe this is our first inaugural Purdue Institute for Family Business webinar, and we couldn't start it off with a better guest, but I wanted to welcome everybody to our webinar, and we hope to bring you once in a while these webinars that really can help us help our family and non-family business. So we deal with non-family, just our small and medium-sized businesses that we're all trying to help really become more sustainable, more viable, more profitable, and be able to manage really in the long run, not just in the short run, in a really good way. So I wanted to welcome everybody, and then I'm going to hand it on now to Renee to introduce our very special guest.
Perfect. Thanks, Maria. Well, a big thanks to Lindsay for agreeing to talk to all of us. We're really excited about this webinar. I'll tell you a little bit about Lindsay, and then she can take it away. So Lindsay Malichi joined the U.S. Small Business Administration in 2019. She previously served in various economic and community development capacities at home and abroad, including with the Peace Corps, Morgan County Economic Development Corp, and Indiana State Department of Agriculture. So at the SBA, Lindsay is part of a team helping Indiana small businesses and entrepreneurs to start, grow, expand, and recover. She enjoys spending her time outdoors with her husband when she has free time. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to Lindsay. We do want to let everybody know if you have questions, you can drop them in the chat, and I'll kind of monitor that and kind of feed those to Lindsay as she has little breaks along the way. But go ahead and take it away, Lindsay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Renee and Maria. It is so wonderful to be here. Thank you for having me. Thank you to the Purdue Institute for Family Business. I'm Lindsay Malichi. I'm with the Indiana District Office of the Small Business Administration. We cover the entire state of Indiana. Our office, as you can see on the screen here, is located in Indianapolis, but we're statewide as far as our district coverage goes, but we are nationwide since we're a U.S. federal government agency. So it's great to be here with you today. We would really like to do a better job of reaching different partner organizations, support organizations around the state, including Purdue Extension offices. So it would be great to continue past today and have some one-on-one discussions with any of you who are interested in touching base with me. We are a small staff covering the state. There are only a few of us, about 10 of us, that are really out doing outreach. So I'm the low man on the totem pole here. I'm the newest member of our district office, but I invite any of you to reach out to me directly and get in touch and let me know what's going on in your office. You know, what are you seeing on the ground every day? And, you know, how can we do a better job of reaching the family and non-family businesses that you are working with? So I would love if you could take a moment maybe and put in the chat maybe what you know already about the Small Business Administration, the SBA. We've been around since 1953. We're an independent federal government agency, but I feel like until this COVID pandemic hit, we were kind of under the radar in a way. So hopefully you know more about us than just that we do disaster loans. But I think that has kind of catapulted us into the spotlight during this pandemic season. We have any people in the chat yet sharing what they know about SBA?
Not yet, we don't.
Not yet. Okay. Well, I will just give like an overview. Oh, I think I saw a couple bubbles pop up. Not much. That's good. This is going to be a primer, an overview. EIDL and PPP, yes. So I am very happy to be here today to talk to you about something other than EIDL and PPP, other than to say that we are kind of winding down our disaster programs. And the last program that is open, the EIDL, or Economic Injury Disaster Loan, we need applications to be in for that by December 31st of 2021. So we'll continue processing applications after that date until funds are exhausted, and we haven't been given any warnings that it's running out anytime soon. But the deadline to apply for the disaster loan is December 31st. But I'm very happy to be here today to talk to you more generally about the Small Business Administration. So we help small businesses start, grow, expand, and recover. And we do that through three main pillars, if you will. We have counseling, capital, and contracting. So rather than a stagnant PowerPoint, I thought it'd be more productive to kind of, give you a tour of our website as we're talking here, because this is where all the latest and greatest information is going to be housed. So starting with the counseling pillar. So there are a few of us here in the SBA district office who do talk to small businesses and partners on a daily basis about what we do. But when it comes really to the one-on-one in-depth counseling, we rely on partners to help us do that. And you probably know some of these partners that are in your area. They include the Small Business Development Center Network, the SCORE Volunteer Mentors, and women's business centers. We have two of those in Indiana, one covering Central and one covering Northeast, and a Veterans Business Outreach Center, which is based out of Michigan, covering Indiana. So these resource partners are really even more boots on the ground than we are at the SBA. I'm kind of the front door to our SBA loan and contracting programs, but these are really the folks who are going to get into the weeds with these businesses, working on their business plans, helping them find funding options, helping them do market research, develop a marketing plan, whatever it is that they need in their business. So I definitely encourage you to refer any of your small businesses looking for that kind of assistance to our resource partners. If you don't know your local resource partners, feel free to reach out to me or go on our website and type in your zip code here to get in touch with those resource partners.
And Lindsay, we have a question.
Great.
Elisa, I think is how you pronounce it. She wants to know, is that counseling free?
It is. Well, free or low cost. For the most part, it's free, although probably a more appropriate way to phrase it would be taxpayer funded. So look at it as a return on your tax dollars. So as we're a federal government agency providing funding to these organizations to do what they do, obviously we're taxpayer funded, so that money gets funneled down to these partners to do what they do. An example of where low cost might come in, the Small Business Development Center, for example, can do business valuations. If you're looking to sell or to value your business, I think there is a small fee for that. But for the most part, it's going to be a free. I get the question a lot, well, which one should I reach out to first? And I think it would be, if I were a business owner wanting, free feedback on my business, I would reach out to all of them and kind of see who got back to me first, or maybe reach out to the one who's closest to me. I think most of them are still working virtually, but, they have their typical geographies. So that's my take on that. And if you go to each of their websites, so the Indiana Small Business Development Center, score.org, they have tons of online resources, blogs, recorded webinars, all sorts of information, business plan templates, financial projection, Excel spreadsheets. So you don't have to create the wheel. You can rely on those online resources from our partners. We also have an online business guide. I would say, there's a lot of good information here. It's pretty preliminary, but it's a good place to start for those that are just in those beginning stages looking to start a business. Writing a business plan, calculating startup costs, picking a business structure, are you a sole proprietor, LLC, corporation, et cetera. So I encourage you to, refer any small businesses to this online business guide. There are also resource guides on our website. So if you go back to our office page, sba.gov/in, give it a minute to load here. There are also some print materials in English and Spanish that cover a lot of the same information in terms of how to start and grow a business. So a lot of free resources out there to help folks get started. The resource partners are also great at helping businesses for the life of their business. So, if they're looking to grow, if they're looking to export, if they're looking to close, sell, whatever it is. So any additional questions on the counseling segment before we move on to our capital programs?
Yeah, so we have one more question. It says, does someone need to be a U.S. citizen to access these resources?
So it depends. For the counseling resources, I've had this conversation with some of our SBDC partners in the past, and I don't think that's really something that they're looking for. So I would encourage you to reach out to those counseling partners for the counseling. Now, when it comes to the loan programs, you do need to be a U.S. citizen or resident, or have some kind of a long-term approval to be here and receive benefits in the United States. So not a tourist visa, for example, but if you're on the other citizen or resident categories or other qualified alien, I hate that term alien, but that's the technical term that is used. So any other questions? If not, we'll go ahead and move into our funding programs. So our flagship, and probably what most people know the SBA for, are our loan guarantee programs. So, we've been getting a lot of attention lately for the disaster assistance programs. So, typically SBA would come in after a natural disaster in Indiana. That might be a flood or drought or freeze. And we would help businesses and homeowners and renters recover after those natural disasters. So that program has obviously expanded in the past couple of years for the COVID pandemic to try to help make businesses that are struggling due to the pandemic whole based on their 2019 numbers. So that's our only direct lending program. For our typical loan programs, it's lender driven. So the small business reaches out and identifies a lender. So that could be a bank, that could be a credit union, probably a lot of those institutions that come to your mind at the top of mind are going to be SBA lenders. But we also have some nonprofit lenders that do micro lending up to $50,000. So there are different programs depending on the needs of the business, and the lenders are really the best ones to decide which program is going to be the best fit for the business. But the lender is the main point of contact for the small business. So I welcome anyone to reach out to me for general information. But when it comes to actually accessing that capital, the lender is going to be the main point of contact. And if a conventional loan is not going to be an option for that small business, that's when the lending partner reaches out to the Small Business Administration to help guarantee that the lender will be made whole to a certain extent in case of a default. So that reduces their risk and can also offer better terms to the small business. So that could be like lower repayment term or lower repayment terms. That would be nice. Lower down payment terms. So the minimum down payment borrower contribution is going to be 10%, which is still a lot. I'll be honest, but it's a lot better than what you would be able to access conventionally, where a lender might be looking for a 20% borrower contribution right off the bat. But we also enable lenders to make longer repayment terms, making those monthly installment payments lower, and other benefits for the borrower as well as the lender. So that's why we're here. That's really our flagship program is the 7A loan program, and that can be used for really almost any legal business use of proceeds that you can think of. We don't do speculative, so we don't work with a lot of developers. We have an owner occupancy requirement. So generally, we're going to be looking for a business, if it's real estate, for example, to occupy at least 51% of that real estate themselves. So it could be mixed use, with a bakery on the bottom and apartments on the top, but at least a 51%, because we're really trying to help those small business owners that are actively conducting business and helping to stimulate the American economy. The 504 loan program is a great option right now for real estate and long-term fixed assets. So your heavy equipment and machinery. This is like a three-way pie. So you've got the borrower contribution, and then you've got a senior lien and a junior lien. So two different loans. The junior lien is with a nonprofit lender called a CDC. You don't have to remember any of this, don't worry. You know, the lender, like I said, the bank or the credit union or the other lending partner is going to be the best one to determine which program is right for the business needs. So they'll help guide you. But the junior lien is a nonprofit lender, and those rates right now are pretty similar to the housing market. You're looking at rates under 3% for that portion, for that junior lien. For the senior loan, is going to be with a bank or a credit union. It's going to be pretty competitive with market rates, but a great option because of those low interest rates on real estate and long-term fixed assets. We do have a few micro lenders in Indiana. If you're interested in knowing if, so these are geographic territory based. We don't have full coverage across the state of Indiana, unfortunately. But if you're in a county and you're interested in learning on whether or not you have an SBA micro lender covering your area, just feel free to reach out to me and I'll help you identify those. But these micro lenders are nonprofit lenders who receive grant money from the Small Business Administration to then lend out to small businesses, and those loans can go up to $50,000. And you know, they're not exclusionary. However, these micro lenders are really good at working with new businesses that might not have that 2-year track record that a bank is looking for. Minority, women, veteran-owned. That is kind of their niche, and they're really helpful to you know, stepping stone to help small businesses get into more traditional bank financing.
Lindsay, we have a quick question.
Yeah, great.
Are farms and agribusinesses eligible for the 504 loans?
I am so glad you asked, because that is exactly where I was heading. Maria and I were chatting about the content of this discussion, and considering the audience, you know, I know there are different program areas within Purdue Extension, and obviously agriculture is going to be a big part of what a lot of your offices do. So I don't really have a good, like nice, pretty flyer. So I pulled up the SOP here. Everyone loves a good standard operating procedure, but it's pretty digestible. So USDA is going to be the primary source for agricultural lending that involves the federal government. However, a few years ago, the SBA and the USDA signed a memorandum of understanding to help widen access to capital for agricultural enterprises and farm enterprises. So as you can see here in our SOP, we do allow purchase of land, buildings, improvements, construction, machinery, equipment, seed, livestock. So there are different instances, and the lender can help the borrower decide whether or not an SBA loan or a USDA FSA loan or a USDA rural development loan is going to be in the best interest of the business. So I'll give you like an example recently that's come up in the past year that FSA, rural development, and SBA all got our heads together to decide, you know, what options were available. So it was for a poultry house, and that is something that the dollar amount was exceeded what the Farm Services Agency could provide, which I think was like 1.776 million. So our loans go up to 5 million. And because it was the poultry house, the rural development considered that to be an agricultural enterprise, and that didn't fit into their box. And so they came to the SBA. And so because it's over the FSA amount and it's not in the rural development toolbox, an SBA backed loan would be a great option for that particular borrower. So yes, and that includes the 504 program. So for the 504 program, and just to remind you, since that's what the question was specifically about, a farm is considered a limited use property, because you can't use a dairy barn for a whole lot of, you can't, I guess you could put like an ice skating rink like around it. That would be kind of cool, like do some agritourism with an ice skating rink outside, but no, I digress. So it's called a limited use property. And because of that, we're going to be looking for a 15% borrower contribution as opposed to a 10% borrower contribution. So it's just like part of the policy. So it is possible to use a 504 program, and we have done that in the past for different farm and ag type businesses. So hopefully that's clear. At the end of the day, the lender is going to be the best one to help guide that borrower to find the best loan program. And, you're always welcome to ping us at the SBA as well, because these SOPs tend to be updated over time. And so, and lenders sometimes have different levels of knowledge, which is why it's always good to shop around if you're looking for financing. But you're always welcome to come to us to understand the latest and greatest as well. Okay, any other questions on SBA-backed loan programs? Before we move on, I did want to also point out, so I'm happy to provide a list of the SBA lenders that are active in Indiana, but we have a great online pairing tool called Lender Match. So this is kind of like Tinder for small business loans. You can, put in some information about your business and how much financing you're seeking and what for, and that sends an e-blast out to all the lenders that participate in this matching program. And so it's a great referral tool, and then they can reach back out to you to take the conversation further. So it's a nice, easy, free way to at least, test the waters and see what the lender's appetite might be for your project. Always good to have a business plan ready to go. We get a lot of calls, and I do want to dispel this rumor, because you used to see that guy in the $ suit on late night TV commercials saying, "Oh, go get the government free money to start your business." Unfortunately, that's just not a reality. We get a lot of calls saying, "How do I get a grant to start a business?" Well, the federal government doesn't give grants directly to small businesses to start or grow a business. So we had some grant programs because of the pandemic, but those are really special instances. Generally, our grant programs are going to be for community organizations to provide support to entrepreneurs. And actually, very exciting, one of our new grant programs called Community Navigators just announced 2 winners in Indiana. One of them is the Northeast Innovation Center out in Fort Wayne, and they are the hub that applied for this grant funding, and they have 5 spokes, and one of their spokes is Purdue Extension. So we're very excited to have Purdue Extension involved as a spoke support organization to help provide underserved entrepreneurs better access to small business resources. But anyway, I digress. So there's no grant programs for small businesses to start or grow. So the next question is, well, how do I get a loan? And my next question is always, do you have a business plan? And usually the answer is no. So I really try to encourage business owners to at least get a draft plan going, so that lenders and investors can get to know them. If you're in the community, you might have a good relationship with a lender, but they're still going to need to go through that underwriting process and that business plan is going to be really important. So it's always good to have that ready before reaching out to lenders. And again, that's something our SBA resource partners over here and local assistance can help provide feedback on. SCORE has an excellent business plan template, one for startups and one for existing businesses. So that's usually where I send folks initially. We do have some other funding programs in addition to the loan programs. Lesser known is our investment capital. So this could be like venture capital, like equity investment or debt or a combination. So typically it's going to be mezzanine financing. Don't assume because it's venture capital that means tech startups. SBA doesn't do a whole lot of tech startup, but it's going to be up to the venture capital firm, what their priorities are. But if that is a type of capital infusion that a small business owner is looking for, they can check out our small business investment company directory here, and kind of, we do have one in Indiana, this one in Indianapolis, Centerfield Capital Partners. They don't do tech startups, but they do several different types of industries. But it's another place to check if the small business owner is looking for more investment or a combination of equity and debt. We've already covered disaster. I've talked disaster loans blue in the face these past couple of years. Surety bonds, we do guarantee bonds to help small businesses win contracts, both government and commercial. That's something that is not as well known, but it's also another service we provide. Again, the grants that we provide are typically to support organizations that support entrepreneurs and business owners. If they're doing some kind of like, scientific R&D or prototyping that might be of interest to the federal government, we do have grants specific for that. But that's really our funding programs in a nutshell. So I'll just pause here and see if there are any questions before we move on to contracting.
So we don't have any new questions in the chat, but if you do have a question, you feel free to unmute yourself and you can just ask Lindsay directly here.
Yep. Anytime. And if questions come up later, just send me an email, give me a call, reach out. I'm happy to talk. All right. So federal contracting, you may or may not be aware that the US government is the largest buyer in the world. And we buy in small quantities, we buy in large quantities, we buy products, we buy services. The federal government is huge and there's a lot of need, and the federal government strives to award 23% of the money spent. My cats are not very happy right now. Give me just a second. Sorry about that, brothers. We try to award 23% of our federal contracting dollars to small businesses. So if you have a product or service that you think the federal government might be interested in purchasing, you can get kind of a step up, some, I wouldn't say priority, but some additional consideration just by being a small business. And then we have special programs that are specifically designed to help minority-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, veteran-owned businesses, and businesses in historically underutilized business zones. So a lot of those low-income census tracts, to help them compete for those federal contracts. A good place to start is with our contracting guide. A lot of great preliminary information just about how to even determine whether or not the federal government has bought something that that your industry provides. There's a lot of data, historical data out there to see which departments are buying what and how they're buying it. In a lot of cases, if it's under a certain threshold, an agency can just use a government credit card and charge it to a credit card, and it's really easy peasy. But there are different types of contracts and different vehicles that agencies use to purchase. And so you can find all that information here. There are a lot of subcontracting opportunities. If you're just getting started, that's often a good place to start, because the prime contractor, like let's say Roche or something like that, can get credit for subcontracting with small businesses, minority women, veteran-owned small businesses. And that helps the federal government meet our goal. So we've got even like a map here. And where is it? Submit to help identify those prime contractors that you might be able to do business with. So we do have some special, there is an organization that's not funded by the SBA like our other partners, but our procurement technical assistance centers are funded by the Defense Logistics Agency. So the Indiana PTAC is a great resource that provides free business counseling to counsel business owners on government contracting, not just federal, but state and local as well. So definitely recommend referring folks to the PTAC if they're interested in selling to the federal government. So that I kind of hinted at what areas these certifications and programs are targeted at. So the small disadvantaged businesses are going to be typically your minority owned businesses. So Black, Asian, Native, Hispanic are going to automatically be presumed to be disadvantaged socially. So those business owners can use these certifications and these statuses to compete for those contracts. And in some cases, an agency needs to meet their goal for contracting to women-owned small businesses or veteran or minority-owned businesses. And so they can do what's called a set-aside, or sometimes even a sole source, where they can get directly to the small business that provides the service or the product that they're looking for, and kind of avoid some of the open competition requirements. So, I know it's a lot of information to take in, and I'm trying to be succinct. So I'll just kind of leave it there for now. But it might be interesting for you to pull up our Hubzone map and see if there are any hub zones. So this is the historically underutilized business zone. You might see if there are hub zones in your area. You can click here, located in a hub zone. So you can, if you have businesses that are in this area, I might just ask them, hey, have you looked to see if the federal government is purchasing what you're providing? That might be another revenue source for you. So I think, that's pretty much our overview. Our learning platform here also has some great tutorials that you might share. This Ascent is dedicated for our women-owned small businesses. Boots to Business is a program that we do for our veteran, reserve, military spouse business owners. We have an Emerging Leaders Initiative for businesses who are already established but are ready to take it to the next level. So if they've been bringing in $250,000 and meet some certain other requirements, it's kind of like a streetwise MBA program that we take them through for free to help them develop their business further. So we're always looking for good candidates for that Emerging Leaders Initiative if you have any constituents like that. I guess I should probably just cover what is a small business. since we're the Small Business Administration, a good way to remember it is if they're not a really large company, they're probably a small business. Our definition of small business varies from program to program because we can't make anything easy. But for the loan and contracting programs, it's going to be based on the industry. But for manufacturing, for example, some types of manufacturing can exceed 1,000 employees and still be considered a small business for our program purposes. So again, it varies from industry to industry. Some industries like PR firms, for example, we use a revenue-based threshold. I don't even remember what it is off the top of my head, maybe 16 million in revenue. So, our definition of small business is pretty liberal. But with that, I'll just kind of wrap it up. Maybe go back to our district office page with my contact info in case any of you want to follow up with me and kind of tailor this conversation to your county.
And we do have a couple of questions. I can answer this one. Can we get a copy of this webinar sent to our email? Yes, we're going to edit this video down, clean it up a little bit, and then we will post it to our Purdue Institute for Family Business YouTube page. So we will email out a link in a few days when that's ready. We have another question for Lindsay. Could you explain the hub zones a little bit more in detail?
Oh yeah, of course, I'd be happy to. So let's go back to our contracting area to the Hubzone page. So Hubzone stands for Historically Underutilized Business Zone. So there are different data sets we use to define what is a hub zone, but a good general way to think of it is your low income areas. So if you are a business that is located in a hub zone, and again, you can pull up the map. Do we have any indication where the person who asked the question is located?
Melinda, do you mind sharing where you're located?
It could be just like a city or town.
Let's say Clinton County.
Perfect, thank you.
Maria will be shocked when she hears me say that.
All right, so let's just pull up Clinton County, Indiana. Okay, so not a whole lot here, but we do have some. So these blue areas, sometimes they're red, sometimes they're blue. But okay, let's look at Frankfort here. So let's just say the business is located right here. So they're in that hub zone. You're either in a hub zone or you're not. If you're on the other side of the street and it's not shaded in, I'm sorry, you're not in a hub zone. That really stinks, but it is what it is. So if the principal office of the business is in here, and there are special exceptions for like a construction company that might move around, or a catering business that might move around to different job sites. But if the principal office is in this shaded area and at least 30% of the employees live in a hub zone, it doesn't have to be this same hub zone, they could live in one of these other shaded areas too, and you could count them. So like if they live in Lafayette and commute or something, then that would count. But basically, if the office is located there and 30% of your employees 35%, excuse me, come from a hub zone, then you can be certified as a hub zone business, and that can help you beat out some of the other competition that's looking to sell to the federal government through a contracting vehicle. So if it comes down to you and another business, you're the final two under consideration for this contract, and you have the same qualifications, but you're hub zone certified and the competition is not, the contracting officer is going to give you that contract because we have goals to meet and we consistently fail to meet our hub zone goal across the nation. So it's a fantastic opportunity if you've got a good or a service that the federal government might be interested in purchasing. it's a fantastic opportunity to take advantage of that. So I hope that makes sense. If there are any follow-up questions, feel free to let me know.
It does. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Mhm.
Does anyone else have any questions for Lindsay? I know this has been a lot of information. It's been really helpful.
It is, and I'm happy to do deeper dives into any of these topics. We kind of just scratched the surface. But again, I just wanted this to be an overview. I've dropped my email address in the chat, so feel free to follow up with me directly. I almost forgot, I did want to mention another place you can go. So we're the Small Business Administration, and but we don't house every single small business program that the federal government has. So a great place to look, obviously you guys are familiar with USDA, but there's also Department of Labor, there's also the IRS, there's also different, the VA. There are other programs out there that are outside of the Small Business Administration and out of my in-depth knowledge. So, if you're working with a business owner and you're interested in finding out what kind of federal programs might be available to them, you can go to usa.gov, really easy to remember. You can scroll down to the small business, and there are a lot of other topic areas that some of you might be interested in. But you can go to the small business section and kind of look through these topics. But what I like to recommend is the business keyword search. If you type in veteran, for example, and click the magnifying glass, you're going to see results from VA, from the SBA, from different federal organizations that have veteran-oriented programming. If you type in insurance, then you're going to get results from the SBA, but also from healthcare.gov and different areas of the government that have insurance. So cybersecurity insurance from the Federal Trade Commission is kind of an interesting topic today in today's world. Whatever the topic is, it's worth a quick search on usa.gov to see what might be out there.
That's great. We'll give people one last chance if you have a question or comment for Lindsay.
We are accepting nominations for National Small Business Week. So if you go to sba.gov/NSBW, if you've got a great business that you want to nominate, they do need to have had some kind of interaction with either the Small Business Administration, so maybe an SBA-backed loan, or have received counseling from SCORE or the SBDC or one of our other partners. But we'd love to have your nominations for National Small Business Week. Always happens in May, except this year because COVID, but it happened in November this year. So you can find any upcoming events on our calendar here at sba.gov/IN. Always feel free to suggest topics for us. If you would like to do webinars specific for your county, happy to talk about doing those with you. But it's just, I really just wanted you guys to have a contact at the SBA that you can call on. I hope you will call on me or any of my other colleagues to help out the businesses that you're working with. And thanks again to PIFB for putting this together and having me. Maria stepped in and did a COVID idle webinar early on during the pandemic to help get that important information out, which is fantastic because, again, we're a small staff. And so it was really great that she took the initiative to do that. And we just really appreciate the partnership.
Well, thank you, Lindsay, so much. I'll toot our own horn of PIFB to tell you that we do, yeah, we do have an online business planner that's in English and in Spanish. Consider it the TurboTax of business planning, because it asks you questions. You can put it right there in the business planner and it'll spit it out and where it needs to be on a business plan. And it'll also give you 5 years of financials as well when you put in the information. So I put it in the chat, but since we have an extension audience, that we do have a business planner there that's available on our website that you can use. And Renee and I can't see the business plan, so we can always help you get your password back, but that's about it. But that's a great resource to have. And we really appreciate, Lindsay, you providing all the, I learned a lot, actually. I thought I knew a lot about the SBA, but I actually, there's several things that I did not know. And so I'm glad to know them.
Yeah, I mean, we're more than just disaster loans, so reach out to us.
That's great. Well, thanks again to Lindsay. And if you have questions, feel free to email her or reach out to Maria or I. We're always happy to help. Maybe we'll have some more webinars coming up since this went over so well. So thanks again to everybody.
Yeah, thank you. Have a nice day, everyone.